Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to very patiently, very kindly, very respectfully ask you to stop playing your indie fantasy tabletop role-playing games and get back to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, where the real work of TTPRG's future is being done. Because Dungeons & Dragons needs you, the tabletop role-playing game community needs you, and frankly, the American culture needs you, okay? All right, so I've come to a new understanding, a different understanding of indie tabletop role-playing games. And so what is that, right? It's very different, distinctly different. So let's talk about it. So I know why you went over to your indie tabletop role-playing games, your fantasy tabletop role-playing games. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about old school essentials. I'm talking about Five Torches Deep. I'm talking about Index Card RPG. I'm talking about Knave. Right, I'm talking about the new Talislanta, right? I'm talking about brilliant, beautiful fantasy, independent tabletop role-playing games. And you were playing Dungeons & Dragons. You're like, you know what? I'm not going to be in this comfortable, safe space where I'm spoon-fed a Dungeons & Dragons adventure every 3 months, and there's really no place for me to build my own world, and there's no place for me to build my own modules, and where I can't do exactly the type of weapons conversion I want, and I can't do the initiative I want. I have too many, bespoke, special desires and preferences that need to be spoken to. And you went out and you found the game that did all of it for you, right? And that might have been OSC, that might have been Index Card RPG, it might have been Knave, all brilliant, beautiful games made by brilliant, beautiful creators, right? Now here's the problem. And you went there because you wanted to be in Frontier's Land. You wanted to build your log cabin yourself, right? You wanted to, maintain your own horses and grow your own vegetables, right? You wanted to be in Frontier's Land. Here's the problem. You're no longer in Frontier's Land. Now you are in the Wi-Fi Starbucks. You are the comfortable person. So if you are out there and you are playing your indie games, you have surrendered and you are doing the easy thing, right? And I want you to just take a step back and realize how curated your current environment is, okay? And how comfortable it is with you and your friends playing your incredibly bespoke game. Now, here's the problem with what you're doing, and this is what I'm calling you to. Dungeons & Dragons has real problems. It's the frontier now, okay? If you go on to Twitter is a burning platform of all kinds of problems that you get to ignore because you're off in your bespoke, special, cultured, safe indie game, right? But Dungeons & Dragons, right now, Dungeons & Dragons has 3 books that use the word race, right? It's the DMG, the MM, and the PHB, right? So while literally the core of the game is using the term race and applying modifiers to race, which everyone now is like, this is a bad idea. Like, no one is really defending, saying, we really need to make sure that all the races are distinct and each race, this race gets this plus and this race gets this minus. And it looks horrific, right? But that's the core of the game right now. Like, it's PHB, DMG, Monster Manual, right? But every single new Unearthed Arcana that comes out is stripping alignment from the game, is stripping race from the game. There is a struggle for culture in Dungeons & Dragons right now, okay? There is a struggle for philosophy that reaches out to the entire American culture, right? What do we believe about race? Do we believe that all races are equal, right? Not that some are fundamentally different and have different attribute scores, right? There's this huge, massive discussion about culture happening. What do we believe about alignment? Does alignment connect to morality, right? These are just 2 questions. There's like 10 questions that are being asked, right? And you're over here just enjoying your game, right? And drinking your lattes and, just having the best time with your friends while world-shaking, world-breaking, world-making questions are happening on Dungeons & Dragons, right? Now, here's the problem, right? You went over there because you love tabletop role-playing games. And you probably didn't understand what Gary Gygax meant when he started this, the catalyst that he put, right? You have a love for D&D, and you have a love for Dungeons & Dragons and an understanding for Dungeons & Dragons, not just in 5e, but what it was in 4e and what it was in 3e and what it was in 2e and what it was in 1e. Even if you didn't play them all, you've done enough research and right? But here's the problem. You, the most engaged player that's ever existed for Dungeons and Dragons is no longer playing Dungeons and Dragons. You're off in your Wi-Fi Starbucks, drinking your lattes and being comfortable. While the real work of tabletop role-playing games, questions that have real impact for the game, for Dungeons and Dragons, for Dungeons and Dragons community, and for the American culture, in my opinion, because I think Dungeons and Dragons is it's an element of Americana. Right? It was created in America, and it's being built in America. Right now, it's an American product, right? So the problem is, right now, the hard work is being done by the people who should least be doing it. People who have come to the game because it has name recognition and momentum, right? That's not why people should be attached to D&D, but increasingly that's why people are attached to D&D. They recognize it's a mega intellectual property with a big future, just like Marvel was in the 80s, and they want to be there to suck up the juice of the name recognition and the momentum, right? And the reality, increasingly, I think there are people who are connected to Dungeons & Dragons and people in the D&D communities whose voices are being heard because your voice isn't even there, right? Stop playing your indie D&D clones. Stop playing your indie games. It's not cool anymore. You're not on the frontier. You're in a Wi-Fi Starbucks drinking your latte. You're the comfortable person now. The real work of tabletop role-playing games, the tough work, is being done on Dungeons & Dragons. Get back over here. This is where you belong, right? Stop. Put your latte down. Pick up something to do some real work. Right? Like, get in the conversation. We need everybody here. We need people who understand the original legacy of the game. We need people who understand what Gary actually wanted when he built this game. You are not serving anybody playing OSC. You are not serving anybody playing Index Card RPG. You are not serving anybody being over there, playing Knave and these great games, because they're just games. You're just playing games. But there's a real cultural conversation happening around Dungeons & Dragons right now, right? And we want everybody's voice in the mix, and we want a dialogue, right? We don't want an echo chamber, right? If you really want to do something important, get back to Dungeons & Dragons right now. That's my opinion. I'm willing to hear you out. Do you have any defense for what you're doing and keeping your voice silenced in one of the biggest cultural questions for Dungeons & Dragons community and the American culture right now? Do you have any excuse for your silence? For courting yourself off in a Wi-Fi Starbucks, just drinking your latte and having fun when there's real questions to be answered and your voice is needed? I'd love to hear your defense, and I'd love to hear your opinions. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.